Phillies are on the field now. Gross, Smith, McBride in left, center, and right. Matusik, Boa, Trio, Rose. The infield third to first. The battery, Mark Davis, 1-4. No record against the Cubs. And the catcher, Don McCormick, getting himself a little shot today. Beautiful sunshiny day. Hardly a cloud in the sky here in Philadelphia and Milo. We're not going to be able to blame the weather, so let's just step out and win one.
Get right out in front. We're looking at a young left-hander here today. He's only 20 years old. Had a fine year last year in AAA, then had arm trouble. So he's just trying to get it back together and make an impression here. He's not going to show you anything cute. Curveball's his biggest pitch. He's got a fastball and a slider. And he's just trying to pitch his way back into form here today. 20-year-old Mark Davis. Lee Smith will make his first big league start ever. In fact, last year he only started twice at Wichita. And this year everything's been out of the bullpen. So Bobby Bonds is getting ready to step in. And if the Cubs could win here today, they would finish third for the second half. They could go by the Phillies. And that'd be a little something to talk about and compare it to the first half and say, hey, a club that everybody maligned, and as Joey said during the strike, they got tired of being the joke of everybody in the country, and they went out in the second half and were a much better ball club. Trying to win their 24th game today against 27 losses. Bobby Bonds 2 for 5 last night. 1 run batted in. That's what he is in the series. And the first pitch of this game is a ball, and we are underway. Bonds is hitting .217 overall, 6 homers and 19 runs batted in. Breaking pitch misses, falls behind Bonds, 2-0. DeJesus on deck, then it'll be Buckner. Two balls and a strike. Bounced his curveball up there. Now it's 3-1. Montreal, the Phillies' opponent, will finish it off with Gullickson against Falcone today at Shea. And the 3-1 to Bobby is way high, and he walked him. So Bonds is on with the leadoff pass. Well, I tell you, these baseball players, when the football season is on, it doesn't take you long on a bus ride to find out who's from what part of the country. Bobby Bonds wouldn't let people up with that USC team today. And poor Jody Davis, who's trying to stick up for Herschel Walker against Marcus Allen, got shot down. So here is Ivan DeJesus, 2 for 8 in the series, batting .193. No homers, 13 runs batted in. Bonds with a big lead. He's clear out on the carpet by a full step. He'd have been amazed if Davis hadn't gone over that way. Rose and Trio on the right side. Boa and Matusik on the left. Little surprise here today that they didn't at least start Mike Schmidt. Be interesting to see what happens if they flash up on the board here that George Foster hit a home run, or that the story comes in that he drove in a run or two, because Schmidt really wants that RBI title.
Well, down at the batting cage, they were kidding him. They claim he's got his own private ticker tape in the dugout.
They thought, I think most people thought they'd at least start him here today and let him bat a couple of times, but he's not in there.
Here's some quick first period scores. They're in the first period. Minnesota 10, the Bears nothing. Green Bay 3, the New York Giants nothing. St. Louis Cardinals 10, Dallas 7, first quarter. Buffalo 14, Baltimore nothing. San Francisco 14, Washington nothing. And in the second period, Kansas City 7, New England 7.
DeJesus shows bunt on the first pitch to him, lets it go high outside the ball. Bobby Bonds continues to flirt with that young left-hander. He's taken a big lead every time. Pete Rose trying to hold him close. Goes a full step out on the carpet again. There is a strike, got his fastball in. 1-1 to DeJesus. Buckner will be next. Two veterans there who have had their share of the limelight, Bonds and Pete Rose. Way high. I think that time it bothered him enough to see that big lead that his concentration was split, and the pitch to DeJesus was way up. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. There he goes. High fly ball right field. Now Bobby's got to come back. Right fielder McBride makes the play. So DeJesus flies to right. It makes it 1 away in the top of the first at the vet in Philadelphia and brings up first baseman Bill Buckner. Buckner will step in here today hitting .314. 10 homers, 75 runs batted in. Looks like he's going to win the double title. He's going to be third in RBIs. He'll end up in the top 10 in hitting. Coming into today, he's fifth. 2 Phillies are in the top 4. Rose is second. Schmidt is fourth. So Bill Buckner looking at the left-hander, Mark Davis. Fastball strike. Taking a little extra time now. He's out in front of Buckner with a strike. Bonds once again goes to the big lead at first. The throw over, not close. Well, you'd think Pete Rose would take a day off. He's in there. I came out here early. He was taking batting practice with all the Scribinis. He just wants it all. There, and now they got a pickoff on. And it'll be 1-3-6. Boa made the tag on him. So it's a caught stealing on Bobby Bonds. Take a look at it again for the second out of the inning. And you'll see the 1-3 pick here, and Boa has to come back because the throw was a little toward the shortstop side of the bag, and Bonds was sliding on the right field side. But they get him. It's 2 away, and Davis will go back to a full windup against Buckner with a strike 1 count. Morales would be next. 1 ball and 1 strike. He's a curveball pitcher, and this year he just hasn't been able to get the curveball over. No matter how good a fastball, you got to go with that curve. If you're not getting it over, big league hitters soon sit on your fastball. In there with a little something off with a curve, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Billy Buck. Nobody on and 2 down. Bonds walked to start the game. DeJesus flied out, then Bonds was caught stealing. So if you're joining us a minute or 2 late, that's what you missed. And we're into our final game of the year on Channel 9, baseball-wise. Fly ball right center, going to hang up a long time for Lonnie Smith. And Davis, who started out walking the leadoff batter, turns out to have an easy inning. After a half an inning, the Cubs are scoreless with no hits, and the Phillies are just now coming into bat. Boop, bop, boop, bop. Boop, bop, boop, bop. Lee Smith getting in his warm-up tosses, his first big league start ever. And his defensive infield looks like this with Bill Buckner at first. Scotty Fletcher's at second base again today. Shortstop Ivan DeJesus. And at third, Ty Waller. Into the Chicago outfield, you'll find Steve Henderson in left. Jerry Morales in center. Bobby Bonds in right. Durham's had to miss the last 2 days with a bad toothache. Jody Davis doing the catching. Lee Smith on the mound. Smith is going to lead off for them against Smith. This is Lonnie Smith against Lee Smith. Lonnie's hitting .320, a 22-game hitting streak. Fastball is in for a strike. Smith will be followed by Rose and then Gross. One ball and 1 strike. It's our 12th game of the year with the Phillies. The Cubs have managed to win 2. Only 1 out of 5 here. Been a tough park for the Cubs. Laid off in time, and it's 3 balls and a strike. To a base stealing threat in the leadoff spot, Smith. See if he can come back and get him. Fastball, sliders, and sinkers. That's the repertoire of this big guy. A sailing fastball walks him. So each leadoff batter is reached via the base on balls. And Jody Smith out there. Jody Davis telling Smith, hey, you're just not coming through. You got to get on top of things. Here's Pete Rose. Had a 10-game hitting streak stopped here last night. 1 for 7 in the series with a run batted in.
Well, Pete will not win the batting title. He's going to finish second, I guess, but Madlock has 15 points on him starting the action today.
But boy, if you look at the other aspects of it, and I know you pay off in the averages, but Madlock isn't close to him in games played, at bats, base hits. This is one of those fluke years. One ball and no strikes.
Today you could light a cigarette on the back of John McNamara's neck. Joey Malfitano, of course, is very, very close to Mac. He called him last night. They talked for a long time. Of course, McNamara's ball club, the Cincinnati Reds, had the best won and loss record in the whole league. In the major leagues, I guess.
And tonight, this afternoon, when the game's over, they go home.
Yeah. Don't try to sell him this playoff system.
Well, pretty hard to sell somebody something when it shouldn't have ever happened in the first place. Pete Rose now with a 2-ball, no strike count. They might put something on here. Rose has hit in 55 of the last 65 games. Oh, that was close. Buckner brought it down in a hurry, but Smith makes it back in. 2 balls, no strikes. Rose, at the age of 40, was only under 300 once this year, and he's sitting on 326 today. Runner going. Throw down will be in time. Good strong throw by Jody Davis. 2 sixes to Jesus covered. It was a stealing situation, that's for sure. He crossed over and he was going full tilt. Davis came right over the top. Good strong throw. Jesus puts it on him before he can get in the right field side, and it's 1 away.
You know, Rose pointed out to me, too. He said, you know, Cincinnati had an 8-game winning streak going when the strike started. And then they had to go to Montreal. He said, but we had a 7-game streak with Atlanta coming in here. So he said, we could have really broken things open a little bit, too.
That's right. Yeah, there'd be all kinds of ways to point at the discrepancies in this situation, but that's a foul tip, and Rose is gone via the strikeout route as Jody holds on. Let's see just where this pitch was. He didn't have a real good cut. It was a tailing fastball going away from him. Just got enough of it to tip it into Davis's mitt, and here is Greg Gross. 0 for 1 in the series. In 5 at-bats against his old teammates this year, Gross is 0 for 5. Against the league in limited play, Gross is hitting .222. No homers, 7 runs batted in. First pitch a ball. Nobody on, 2 away. Gross playing left and batting third. McBride would be next. The 1-0 from Lee Smith. Fastball, and it's 1-1. Interesting to see just what the public thinks of it, too. I understand tickets are not the hottest commodity in the world in some of these playoff cities. Normally, that'd be a tough ticket. 2 balls and a strike. Looping fly ball left, going to drop in. Henderson will jump to make sure it doesn't go over him with that AstroTurf bounce. And Gross is on with the first hit of the game. And if Gross was going to get a hit, you could just about nail it right there. That's his spot, opposite field hitter. And here is Bake McBride, only batted once. That was in the Friday night game. He's 0 for 1 in the series, but what a year he's had against the Cubs, .357. And against the league, he's hitting .275.
That's the first hit Gross has made off the Cubs this year, or off the Phillies this year. He was 0 for 5 before then. McBride, on the other hand, has a very good go of it this year against the Cubs. Milo, he's hitting .357 against Chicago. 10 hits in 28 at-bats.
Fake McBride can do a lot of things to beat you. He can hit for power once in a while, although he's only got 2 home runs this year. He's a good base stealer. He can score from first. That's a ball. Pretty good outfielder.
You know, the Cardinals have to be pretty unhappy. They lost the first half to the Phillies by 1.5 games, and they lost the second half to Montreal by 1.5 games.
Yeah, that's another club that did pretty well, that gets the rest of the year off after this afternoon's game. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 away. McBride taking a little time getting back up in there. Gross at first. McBride with that closed stance. Almost took off a kneecap with that one, and it's 3-2. Philly Williams calling the balls and strikes here today. The veteran of this crew. Pryor at first, McSherry at second, Pulley at third. Gross takes his lead at first base. 2 down. You've got a full count of the batter. The runner ready to go. Fouled it off. Pitch was a slider riding right in on his knuckles. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and it stays right there as Gross gets back to first base. McBride batting. Big Len Matusik, and he is a big one. Playing third base for them today, and he's in the on-deck circle to the right as Smith reads it from Jody. Runner going. Strike called. A buzz bomb between the knees and the belt. Boy, did he pump one in there. So McBride is gone. Second strikeout of the inning for Lee Smith. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, a walk, a caught stealing, and they leave 1. We've played an inning. Cubs and Phillies, no score. Second inning, Jerry Morales playing center and batting cleanup. First pitch to him inside, ball 1. Jerry hitting .286 for the year. Just 1 homer, 25 runs batted in. In this series, Jerry's gone 3 for 10 with 2 ribbies. In the last 7 games he started, he's hit safely in every one. A ball and a strike to the veteran outfielder, and Henderson will be next, followed by Jody Davis. 1-1 from Mark Davis. High bouncer, deep short. Boa with a long throw, and it's safe. He bounced it over there, and while the ball was bouncing, Morales, by hustling down the line, beats the rap. Oh, there's a case. Maybe last day doesn't mean anything. Jerry busted his tail and got down that line. Take another look at it. It'll go as a base hit, figuring it was a tough chance for Boa because ball was way back of the white line here in the artificial surface. Boa, maybe, if he had that play to make over again, would have taken the last bounce out of it. Would have charged it. That way the heat have been closer and the ball wouldn't have been in the air so long. Henderson, the batter, hit safely in 12 of his last 13 games. Curveball high. Right at the top of the hour here in our final Cub television game for 81. It's all coming to you on WGN Television 9 Chicago, America's #1 sports station. For this winter, you'll follow the Bulls and DePaul. Even at a hit apiece, no score. Cut right through a slider, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Henderson 5 for 8 in this series. He's a .500 hitter against the Phillies this year. 21 for 42. And so on this hot streak that he's been on, he's jacked his batting average back up to .290. 5 homers, 34 runs batted in. Morales first. Davis moves him back, but it's not close. Henderson batting, Jody Davis on deck. Second inning. A ball and a strike. Morales doesn't take that big lead. He just goes to the edge of the carpet. Throws over there again. It's not a stealing situation here, and Morales is not known as a base stealer. In fact, he stole his first base of the season last night. A ball and a strike as he looks at him again. Good block of it by McCormick. 2-1. Plus, they think they stole a sign and think maybe a run and hit is on, and that Joey's trying to get some movement on the bases here. So Davis, on the other hand, then is trying to keep the runner close. Here's the pitch, and it's up high again, and it's 3-1. Runner going to go here in a stealing situation, and a beauty down the right side as the run and hit was on. That ball carrying around the corner. Morales is going to score. Smith had thoughts about third, but he'll go back. And boy, he was almost halfway to third. So it's a double for Henderson. Gets a run batted in. And that's his 8th double of the year. Take a look at this. With the 3-1, they had the runner going. And the right fielder, McBride's got to wait. He wanted that ball to come on back to him, but it just rattled around down in the corner, never bounced back. So there was Henderson with that big turnaround second. He got back easily.
Football. In the second period, it's still Minnesota 10, the Bears nothing. Dallas 10, the St. Louis Cardinals 10. Green Bay 10, the New York Giants nothing. Buffalo 14, Baltimore 3. San Francisco 17, Washington 3. New England 14, Kansas City 7. Those are all scores in the second quarter.
And the first pitch to Jody Davis, a ball. Davis hitting .261, 4 homers, and 21 runs batted in. Jody in this series is 3 for 8 with an RBI. So the two hitters who've been the hottest lately both get hits in the inning. Morales and Henderson. Looked like he was trying to go to right field with him there. Just simply came up empty, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Morales now in the last 8 games he started has hit safely, and Henderson 13 out of 14. That's the way he's jacked that batting average back up again, and he just looks like the hitter he did the first 6 weeks of the season. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bouncer, second base. Trio looked. I'm not so sure he didn't have a play. But he says, I'll get the guy over at first.
He really turned that one over in his mind for a while, didn't he?
He sure did. And Matusik was over there waiting for a throw, but I guess Trio figured, well, then if I miss him, they got the makings of a big inning.
Yeah.
So Davis did his job, like we alluded to the pitch before. Looked like he was trying to go to the right side to get him over, and he did it. Now here is Ty Waller. Ty's 3 for 9 in the series with 2 runs batted in. Infield up all the way around. Henderson at third. That's a strike, and it's 0-1. Waller against the league, .269. 3 homers, 12 RBIs. One of those homers and half of the RBIs, 6, are against Philadelphia. Good reason for that. Since he's been starting, he's played them 2 series, so he's done well against them. Off speed with his curve. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cubs are on the board first, 1-0, second inning. Henderson on the run and hit doubles in Morales. He was on first at the time. Now with that infield up, looking, and the high bounce up the third base side. It'll curl over the line, foul. Henderson, of course, speeding up that line, and Waller beating a path down to first. They'll both come back.
That was a picture book slide, by the way, by Henderson. That's the kind that you try to teach when you're working with kids.
Well, I know that one felt a lot better than the one last night when he lit awkwardly.
Yeah.
Boy, it looked for a
Quite
minute.
an art, sliding.
And you know, some guys who can't do it just never get the hang of it. I've watched those drills in spring training sometimes. You know, they do it on the grass with football pants on. And because they've got a little padding, and they're trying to make them drop that knee and that leg underneath. One guy who never could do it was Rico Carty. How long did he play? 15 years?
Well, you know, it's a funny thing, too, Milo. Fellas who, as you point out, like Rico, good bodies, excellent coordination, fine athletes, never get the hang of sliding, and some of the biggest, most awkward-looking and clumsily built guys you ever saw in your life slide beautifully and gracefully. A great example of that for the old-timers. There's a hit batsman.
Yeah.
Was Johnny Mize. Remember the big cat with the big bat?
Maybe
Mize made it in the Hall of Fame.
Let's look at this. Oh, I don't know how it missed him. Well, it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Anyway, Mize was one of the most graceful sliders I ever saw.
Maybe it fits in with those great big guys who were the good dancers light on their feet.
Yeah.
2-2. Waller batting. Fletcher will be next. Tyrone doesn't want to let Henderson stay at third here with a 1-out situation. Put that ball in play somewhere. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Young left-hander bringing it to him. Holds at 2-2 as he fouls it off. Rose and Trio, the regular side of their infield. Regular shortstop Boa. Matusik playing third for them today. Boone and Moreland each getting a rest, so youngster McCormick doing the catching for them. 2-2. Oh boy. He went after ball 3. He might have gone after ball 4. I'm not so sure the pitch before wasn't outside either. Went after a bad pitch and strikes out. So now little Scotty Fletcher's got to pick up the slack here. Batting .209 in limited play. 9 hits all year. He's had 5 of those 9 hits against Philadelphia, 3 in this series. And all 3 of his hits in this particular series have been doubles. No balls, 1 strike. Mark Davis trying to get out of a jam here. He's given up a run. Henderson was at third with nobody out. Now you have 2 away. So you need a clutch hit out of the little second baseman, Scotty Fletcher. Good cut, but he fouls it back in a hole 0-2. Yeah. Fletcher getting back up in there. Mark Davis ready. The 0-2. A bouncer third. Matusik plays it off to the side, turns around and throws, and got him. Well, that's tough to do. When you play it off the side, then turn clear around, have to pick up that target. But Len Matusik did the job, and it retires the side. The Cubs have to settle for 1 run on 2 hits. Henderson drove in Morales. 1 man was left. We played into the middle of the second. The Cubs are in front of the Phillies, 1-0. In the bottom of the second, Lee Smith with a 1-0 lead will be looking at Len Matusik, Larry Boa, and Manny Trio. Well, we get home tonight, get a chance to get a day or 2, a little vacation, and then we'll be going to camp Tuesday with the Chicago Bulls. Brian McIntyre will have his press day. Arnie and I will be going over there to get acquainted and have a little lunch with the Bulls on Tuesday for the workout. And then it won't be long till we start with that round ball on the 30th, the Bulls at Indiana. All yours on Channel 9. And the first week of December, we'll pick up the DePaul Blue Demons. Here's Matusik and the first pitch of ball.
Milo, when you drop by Iowa State to congratulate them on their win over Iowa, why, be sure and give them our best regards, too, will you, on your vacation?
I'll be at the Iowa homecoming game on Saturday.
It's a good thing I got glasses on, Arnie. I might be in trouble here.
Hey, you want to know something? There's 2 pretty good teams out in that state right now. And Arnie just held up another finger, says there's 3 great teams. He puts the Drake Bulldogs in there. They won again. Iowa State ties Oklahoma. And he walks Matusik.
You know, of course, why Bradley gave up football.
That's right.
The faculty athletic committee put in a rule that they would not award a varsity letter to any athlete who could not identify the letter, and that really loused up our recruiting.
You can get away with that being from there. Somebody else said that. Can you imagine the mail we'd get?
Number 10.
Larry Boa will be the batter. He's hitting .282. That's the 3rd best in his big league career. His highest was in '75 when he hit .304. That's a double play. Oops, skipped right up off of him, and instead of a double play, you don't get anybody. That is an E4. again, there's nothing tougher because the pitcher gets you the ball. The sinker puts the ball in play for the double play. And now Manny Trio will be the batter. Manny in this series has gone 3 for 7, 1 homer, 2 RBIs. Trio hitting a .289 average, 5 homers, 36 runs batted in. Matusek walked. Boa safe on the Scotty Fletcher boot. And it's 2 on with nobody out. There have been many managers, but I guess Joe McCarthy expounded and expanded on it more than anybody, Jack, about, and Paul Richards used to talk about it when we had those gab fests. The most important play in the game when the opportunity is there is the double play. To execute it and make it.
Yep. That goes right in with his philosophy that teams don't win games, other teams lose them.
Right. Just stay close, and one of the teams will give it to the other one most of the time. 2 balls, no strikes. Now it's 3-0. Jody Davis going to go out and talk to Smith. Jody Davis in that situation is probably one of the few human beings on the face of this earth who can have a conversation with Lee Smith and get in most of the words. Because if it isn't on a baseball diamond, the big guy can really give you a barber job. Fouled off on a 3-0. Did you hear that line he gave? Somebody in New York found out that there was a deal on the little cassette players with the little miniature headsets. Capilla throwing in our bullpen. Fouled off. Now it's 3-2. And about 10 of them got on the bus to come out here on Friday night. And of course you can't hear them, thank goodness, the players, because they're all playing something different. And the guys are all singing to what they're listening to. And Lee Smith looked at him. He says, "Boy, I hope you guys didn't buy Delco batteries." He says, "I can't wait till they all wear out." Throw down, and he got him. That's a double play with a strikeout on the front end. Good play by Jody Davis, nailing Matusek. So it's a caught stealing as he gets his 3rd strikeout, gets Trio, then Davis throwing over that right-hand batter and put it right down there. That is one of the most difficult plays for a catcher, with that right-hand batter up there and that batter swinging. Now you've still got to throw over him with that bat looping around, and he put it right down there perfectly for Waller. Bouncer short, so it looks like the error will not hurt, and it didn't, as McCormick bounces to short, and that does it in the Philly second. No runs and no hits. 1 error, 1 left. At the end of 2, the Cubs are still leading by a run. There's the salute to Jack on the big message board here, and now the fans here are looking up and waving, and Jack is waving back. Another nice tribute from the city of brotherly love.
Ah, bless him.
Lee Smith will be leading it off here. Smith doesn't get a bat that often. He gets a hit here, he'll say, "Skip, you got to start me more often." Cubs about hit him 2-1, leading the score 1-0. Mark Davis working on Smith. First pitch is a ball. High fly ball, shallow right. Rose back pedaling. Second baseman was right in behind him, but Rose stayed right with it, and Smith has popped up in shallow right.
I'd like to have the gun and measure Smitty's fastball right now. I just have a feeling, and it's only a hunch, that it's lost a couple of 3 miles an hour velocity since the season began. I wonder if maybe a good winter's rest won't help it.
This might do that. I'd like to see him go back and throw that sidearm sinker a little bit more.
Oh, that was a good pitch. I'd like to see it more. I agree with you. When he first came up, that's what he intimidated batters with.
And with his size, and when he takes that big step,
yeah.
Boy, he got a lot going for him when he can get that ball where he wants it. No balls and a strike here to Bobby Bonds. Well, you've come to the city many a time, and the old Shibe Park, later Connie Mack, then saw them move into this beautiful arena. 2 balls and a strike.
I remember Connie Mack. You had to be a mountain goat to get up to the booth. It was almost like scaling the side of a building. And I went up the side of that building, that steep stairway, for 5 years before somebody tipped me that there was an elevator.
It was just big enough for one person.
Yes, but at least it was an elevator.
So Bobby Bonds walks for the second time.
It was a sheer drop, you know, out of the booth, all the way down. And Russ Hodges, God rest his soul, Russ was one of those fellows who had a fear of height, so he strapped himself in. He needed to strap himself in that booth.
Well, when you look down out of that old booth, it was a real drop. And anybody that was calling balls and strikes up or down from that booth, it was a guess.
They were really faking it.
St. Louis leading Pittsburgh 1-0 in the third. DeJesus batting with a runner on and 1 out. DeJesus flied to right in the first inning.
I never was around when they had Baker Bowl here, but Charlie Grimm swears, and I've told this story before, that at old Baker Bowl, the groundskeeper's assistant was a goat. Because he used that goat to chew that grass and keep it short.
Remember that hill at the old ballpark in Kansas City, and Finley had goats on there to keep the grass short?
Sheep?
No way you could get a mower in there. Bounced foul. And the story of Bob Shaw when he was pitching for the White Sox, and Shaw thought the goats were staring at him, and he went over one day and grabbed this big billy goat by the horns and went forehead to forehead, and he says, "Now, how do you like it?"
Shaw was a beaut. Of course, he was with that great 59 ball club that won it for the White Sox. But like Al Lopez says, he should have been a lefty.
Had all the mannerisms of one, didn't he? Ruthven is throwing in their bullpen. I'm sure that's just a check of knee that's bothering him a little bit. 1-2. High fly ball right field. Bake McBride coming over and in, waiting for it to settle in, and it does. So DeJesus, for the second time in this game, has flied out to break McBride. That's going to bring up Buckner. He flied to center in the first inning. Buckner's gone 2 for 11 in this series. Dallas Green might have some thoughts about maybe letting Ruthven under game conditions, test that knee a little bit, find out if he's ready for the second game at Montreal. There's a bender in there for a strike. Well, they can ill afford not to have him ready to pitch at Montreal, because after Carlton and Ruthven, it's a long drop-off in their... If they've got an Achilles heel, it's their starting pitching. No balls, 1 strike. Jammed him and popped him up. The pitcher wants the third baseman to make the play, and he does, right at the spot that the pitcher vacated, the mound. So it's no runs, no hits, no errors, a walk. Bonds left after 2.5. The Cubs at Philadelphia leading the Phillies 1-0. Going to get a pinch hitter for Mark Davis. It'll be Del Unser as we go to the bottom of the third. I saw you talking to Unser down around the batting cage today. Did he give you a description of that fabulous play he made last night?
Well, of course, I sneaked up behind him and I said, you understand that on the air, Motto and I both agreed that there was nothing exceptional about that catch you made because we grow those kinds of talents down in downstate Illinois. He said, I don't think I've got 10 innings in that position out there this year. Del Unser. Batting for the pitcher, Davis. Del has 9 hits this year. Boy, what a hero he was in that pinch hitting department a couple of years ago in the playoffs, huh?
Well, and there was one stretch where he was hitting home runs every time he stepped up as a pinch hitter.
Every time you needed one, he got it. Ball 1, strike 1 the count. Cubs out in front here 1-0. The ball game in the Philadelphia third. Unser will be followed by Smith, then Pete Rose. Ball 2, strike 1.
Football. Minnesota leads the Bears 17-0 in the second quarter.
And that is a check swing. Ball 3, strike 1. The outfield straightaway, fairly deep.
In fact, just to pin that down a little, in '79, set a major league record when he slammed 3 consecutive pinch home runs.
Well, he just got himself a walk to open the Philadelphia fourth, and that'll bring up Lonnie Smith now.
Well, maybe Smitty's been relieving so long, Jack, that he doesn't feel comfortable working from the windup. He's walked the leadoff batter in every inning. He wants to go to the stretch.
See nothing wrong with that. There isn't all that much difference between them these days anyway.
Green Bay leading the Giants 13-0 at the half. Dallas has tied St. Louis 10-10 second quarter. Buffalo 14, Baltimore 3 second quarter.
Lonnie Smith, 22 straight.
San Francisco
5 in the series,
leading Washington 24-3 in the second quarter.
That's a strike at the knees.
Halftime, New England 14, Kansas City 7, and in the first quarter, Cincinnati Bengals 3, Houston nothing. That's up to date with what we have.
One of the real hard-working behind-the-scenes fellows at Wrigley Field is Art Siegel. He's been keeping that scoreboard at Wrigley Field for the last 25 years. And he asked us if we'd, on behalf of the ball club, give a good fly ball right field. And it is a base hit out there. That's going to be a ground rule double for Lonnie Smith. That puts men on second and third now, as Lonnie Smith comes up with a 2-base hit. That's his 23rd double this year. Whoop, double check that. No, he's now hit in 23 straight ball games. That's it. As far as doubles are concerned, for Lonnie, that is his 15th 2-base hit this year. And the batter now is Pete Rose, and there's a ball. I started to say Art Siegel from the scoreboard asked if the ball club and all of us would give get well wish to Todd Peterson, who's 11 years old in Victory Hospital in Waukegan, Illinois. We certainly echo that one. He'll be ready for opening day. Men on second and third now. The Cub lead endangered with Pete Rose in the batter's box. There's a ground ball. That'll tie it up. Fletcher has to go to first base as Unser crosses the plate. The infield was not pulled in. They were going to give a run to get an out on that one. That's exactly what they did. Also puts a man on third now, with Lonnie Smith taking third on that one, and Greg Gross is up. And now the score is tied 1-1. Steve Henderson in left, Jerry Morales in center, Bobby Bonds in right, Ty Waller, Ivan DeJesus, Scott Fletcher, Bill Buckner. The infield third to first, the battery Lee Smith and Jody Davis. And both these managers may use several pitchers before this day is over. That is a ball. Ball one. Montreal failed in the first inning. The Mets are now at bat. Outside. Throw to third. Smitty diving back in. Atlanta has not scored in the first inning. Cincinnati is now at bat. At Cincinnati. Infield pulled in now with a man on third, one away. Greg Gross at bat, singled the last time up. Outfield playing him to swing late. That's a ball. Gets away, but not far enough to allow Lonnie Smith to make any moves. Ball 3, no strikes. Capilla continues to warm up for the Cubs. That's a strike. Ball 3, strike 1. Foul ball, 3-2 now. Ball 3, strike 2. High foul fly, again out of play to the left. Pretty good crowd here today, Milo. What would you say, 20?
Looks like maybe Unser will play first base. When they go back on the field, they just got a shot of him with his first baseman's mitt on.
Strike! How about that?
Well, that's coming back after a 3-0.
So now the infield can drop back to normal depth. Bake McBride, the right fielder, is up. Bake McBride, Springfield's pride. Cubs have a chance to finish third in the division. They can win today. There's one that gets away at the plate. And the runner on third comes in. Lonnie Smith streaks across the plate. Let's see what they call that one. Probably a wild pitch. It is.
Looks like it came, yeah, it almost hit him in the knee.
Not a very smart time to throw a wild pitch. It's now Phillies 2, Cubs 1. I started to say if the Cubs can win this ball game today. There's a high fly. Backing up for it, little Scott Fletcher. He's got it. 1 run in. Make that 2 runs in. They lead by 1 on 1 hit. No errors. There was a wild pitch. Nobody left. We go now to the 4th inning. It is Philadelphia 2, the Cubs 1. So we have some changes now. Vukovich, George that is playing center field. The new pitcher is Ruthven. And Milo, you were right. Unser has gone to first base. That, of course, will put Unser in the 9th spot in the batting order because he pinch hit for Mark Davis. Jerry Morales is going to lead off.
There's Unser at first. Look at Ruthven's style here. He's only faced us once all year, and the Cubs did a bomb job on him a week ago today in the second game of that doubleheader that the Cubs went on to win 14-0.
Jerry Morales. There's one to the right of second. A good backhand grab by Trio, and he throws out Jerry Morales in a very, very fine play. That was some play. Here it is again. Look at this. You want to see big leaguer in action? There he is, Manny Trio. Vukovich batting in the 1 spot. And Ruthven in number 2, if I heard that correctly, Milo. One out, nobody on. One and one. Steve Henderson trying to get something going for the Cubs. Got a double the last time at bat, batted in a run. There is a fair ball just inside Unser in the bag. Watch him go for 2 on this one. He's got it. It's a ground rule double. One of the fans reached out, took care of that one. So that's the second ground rule double we've had now. And Steve Henderson has just registered his 8th two-base, make that his 9th two-base hit of the year, his 2nd of this ball game. Here's Jody Davis. Mr. Henderson is on a rampage. He has 7 hits in his last 10 at-bats in this series.
And since he got back in the starting lineup, he's been batting .500 in the last 13 games.
Ball 1.
Well, that's one of those things that makes this game the game it is, Jack. Here's a fellow the first 6 weeks. Boy, everything you threw up there he was hitting. Then after the strike, he couldn't buy a base hit. Now here in the last 2 weeks, batting .500.
Yeah. Ball 2, no strikes. Nice visit with your pal Ron Reed today. Ron, of course, the great 6'5" bullpen pitcher and former basketball player.
Yeah, you're right
about how big those players are today in basketball. Ron said one of the reasons I gave it up, he said, I got tired of looking at those belly buttons. He said, no matter how high I jumped, there was a belly button in front of me. 5-3 on the putout. Jody Davis is out. Henderson taking 3rd. Because he's going to test the free agent market, huh?
It looks like that's what he'll do now. Says the Phillies are so busy trying to get the club sold that they aren't talking to anybody. And of course, another thing is, I think Ron's going to be 39 next year.
That's a strike. Well, the talk up here among the players and some people whose opinion we respect, as well as the players who we also respect, have Bill Giles in his group with the inside track. I would think Rudy Carpenter would want to lean his way. Bill's done a super job up here. 0-2. Man on 3rd. Cubs need a run. Ruthven the pitcher. Little low. 1-2. That's a little high. Ball 2, strike 2. Ball 2, strike 2. Ground ball back in 3rd. Backhand stop by Matusik. The throw is in time. Tywaller is out on a play that Ty can really appreciate by Matusik, the 3rd baseman. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and a man left. This takes us now to the Philadelphia half of number 4. Matusik, Boa, trio due up. Phillies 2, Cubs 1. Extra, Frog and Pig meet international celebrities here on TV9. So join us for fun this fall when Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy bring them up in madness to Channel 9, Monday through Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Channel 9 will keep you laughing with the best in comedy, Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy. Wow. If that wouldn't stop a man from retiring, nothing would. Len Matusik in the batter's box. One and one. Lee Smith throws a breaking pitch. Ground ball out to Jesus. Sidearms it over there to first. 1 out. Here's the shortstop, Larry Boa. Phillies 2, Cubs 1. The Cubs have out-hit the Phillies 3-2. Here's Boa. Safe on an error the last time up. Ground ball right of second. Base hit. Detroit 2, Milwaukee nothing. They're in the Milwaukee second now. The Yankees at Baltimore, no score in the Baltimore second. Boston 1, Cleveland nothing. They're in the Boston third. White Sox playing Minnesota today in their home finale. Here's Manny Trio. Fly ball, left center. Henderson hardly has to move. 2 out. Catcher Don McCormick up. Here's McCormick. Ball 1. That's a strike. 2 out. Boa may take off. He got 16 stolen bases this year. Check swing, it's a strike. Plate umpire today, Bill Williams. Paul Pryor at first, John McSherry at second, Frank Pulley at third. Got him. McCormick strikes out. We were distracted for a moment there by a bulletin which was shown us. Joe Torre has been fired at New York. More later. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and a man left. And so at the end of 4, score the ball game. Phillies 2, Cubs 1. Let's move now to the Cub half of number 5. Scott Fletcher, number 8 in the batting order, will lead off. We may get a pinch hitter for Lee Smith. Bobby Bonds, the right fielder, will be following them. Phillies leading 2-1, each team with 3 hits. On the field for the Phillies, Greg Gross in left field. George Vukovich in center. Bake McBride is in right. Len Matusik at third. Larry Boa at shortstop. Manny Trio at second. Del Unser at first. The pitcher, Dick Ruthven. Catcher is Don McCormick. Scott Fletcher is going to lead off. And there's a strike, strike 1. Lou?
Yes, sir.
Lou Boudreau, you got the bulletin over there in your booth about Joe Torre, huh? What can you tell us? Anything else?
Nothing at all. All we heard from our sports department that Joe Torre has been fired.
Well, he's a good man. He'll land somewhere.
Oh, yes.
1-1.
I think there was rumors last year or 2 years ago about the same happening.
Ground ball bouncing out to the shortstop, Boa. That's out number 1. Let's see if Smith bats. I guess he will. Nobody on. 1 out. There's Joey. How you doing, Lou?
Fine. A nice tribute to you, sir.
Thank you.
By the Philadelphia fans
Thank
and
you.
It's very nice.
Foul ball taken by Gene Kleins, coaching at first. As usual, Cookie Rojas over at third. Gino, of course, will not go back with the ball club. He only lives about 70 miles from here. He'll get in that car and go home to York. About 10 of the players will not make the plane. Bobby Bonds is the one with the interesting trip. Tuesday, he's going to leave Chicago driving, and his first stretch will take 30 hours. Uninterrupted driving. That's a strike.
I think he's had plenty of experience by moving around. Maybe not by car, but he's changed a lot of ball clubs.
Yeah, he's going to stop in Phoenix and see his mother, then drive to San Francisco. 2 out now. Smitty striking out there, and that brings up the right fielder, Bobby Bonds. Don't forget highlights on the news at 9. Ground ball scooped up by third baseman Matusik. The throw, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for the Cubs in the 5th. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. Let's go now to the Philadelphia half of number 5. Hunter will lead off. Philadelphia 2, the Cubs 1.
Bruce Roberts worked for the CBS television station in Chicago, WBBM, for 30 years. He did just about everything in our industry, but he was best known as a sportscaster. And in a very special way, Bruce helped construct the format we now know as the NFL today. Working out of Chicago on doubleheader Sundays, he pioneered the first post-game show with videotape from all the other games that were going on a Sunday afternoon. And Bruce was a very special person who always found time to smile. And our condolences go out to his lovely wife, Lois, and 4 children who live in Northbrook, Illinois. Now let's send you back to the stadiums for the second halves.
I don't think Ruthven will bat, Jack. I just think that Dallas Green is going to use his pitchers every 2 innings to keep them sharp for the upcoming playoffs, as he also using his regulars very sparingly.
How do you analyze the starting performance by Mr. Smith up till now, Lou?
Well, he's been a little wild, but yet he's been out of the jams, pitched himself out of jams by strikeouts. He's walked 3, but he has struck out 5, and that's might be the type of pitcher that Smith is.
Strike. 0-2.
He may put 1 on, but might strike out 2, rather than put 2 on and only strike out 1.
Foul ball. The halftime score of the Bears is Minnesota 17, the Bears 7. Bears finally got on the board. It's a strike. 1 away. And Proley is loosening up now for the Phillies. Vukovich at bat. Strike 1. Well, they put the Joe Torre note on the board here now.
Follow the quarters in the 3rd and the 5th.
One and 1. In the dirt. Ball 2, strike 1. Have some scores there, Lou?
Yes, we have some football scores. Jack has just given you the halftime score: Minnesota 17, Bears 7. At half, Dallas 10, St. Louis Cardinals football team 10. At the half, San Francisco 24, Washington 3.
Strike. 2-2.
In the 3rd period, Green Bay 13, New York Giants nothing. In the 3rd period, Buffalo 14, Baltimore 3. In the 3rd period, New England 17, Kansas City 10.
Foul ball.
In the 2nd period, it's Cincinnati Bengals 3, Houston nothing. And in the 2nd period, Pittsburgh Steelers 10, New Orleans nothing.
Fly ball, center field. Morales is there. He's got it. 2 out.
Well, my
That'll
friend,
bring up Mr. Ruthven or a pinch hitter. Who's he going to be here? That's
Aviles. Before he bats, Jack, this is my last opportunity to once again publicly thank you on behalf of all the Boudreaux for what you've done for me and starting me out in this profession, and I can't thank you enough. And I hope that this will not end our talk on sports, and even though you are retiring from play-by-play. I just want to
Well, thank you, Lou. You're one of my favorite people, always have been and always will be, and of course I know you know it. We've got a great gang at WGN.
Yes, we have.
We have a real family feeling around that place, and like other families, you know, there's an argument here and there, but for the most part, there's a genuine affection, a genuine closeness that isn't always found in broadcasting properties. And that's particularly true of our sports department. I think you go through our sports department, you'll find a real camaraderie. And it's not there by accident. It's there because the people who are in it are just made that way. And they feel a stake in this business. They feel a tremendous responsibility toward the assignment of WGN Sports.
And that's the reason why it's number one, as it should be and will be.
Ball one, strike two now to Aviles, who's a .214 hitter, has 6 hits all year. Phillies lead the Cubs here 2-1. And there's another foul ball. Ball one, strike two. That's a ball. Ball two, strike two. That's off the mark, too. Full count now, 3-2.
Where Smith has thrown a wild pitch and several into the dirt and blocked by Jody Davis. He's got a few added black and blue spots on his arms and body. Smith might be showing some tiredness now in about the next inning.
Foul ball, 3-2.
In his first start, he's gone 4 2/3 innings, thrown a lot of pitches.
That is a ball. So Aviles, batting for Ruthven, coaxes a walk out of Lee Smith on the 3-2 pitch, and Greg Gross is now the batter. Has a single and a strikeout. Interesting strikeout. The last time the count went ball 3, no strikes, and then next thing you know, it's strike 3. You notice Greg's wearing glasses?
Yes, it's the first time I've noticed
I noticed that at the batting cage, Lou.
Yes.
Strike one. Low and outside. Ball one, strike one. Henderson, Morales, Bonds in left, center, and right. Waller, DeJesus, Fletcher, Buckner, the infield third to first. Battery, Smith and Davis. Fly ball, center field. Morales has a beat on it. Plunk. No runs, no hits, no errors, and a man left. And so at the end of 5 complete innings, the score at Philadelphia. Phillies 2, the Cubs 1. Half of number 6, and we're getting to the place, fellas, where a couple of runs could look very, very big. The kind of game we have on our hands today. Phillies 2, Cubs 1.
And Proley has come on to pitch, and we've got a new shortstop as well. That'll be Ramon Aviles. So Dallas is doing just what you'd expect him to do here today. Gave some of the guys the day off to begin with, and now he's just kind of easing the other fellows in. They'll work out tomorrow at Drexel because this place will be converted for the Eagle game tomorrow night. Then go on to Montreal. What about Proley?
Well, Proley has a record of 2-1. Run average of 3.92. This is his 35th game. He has started 2 games for the Phillies this year. He's worked 62 innings, allowed 65 hits, 29 runs. He's walked 19, and he has struck out 19.
Ed Dallas got out of Ruthven what he wanted today also.
Yeah, just to keep him sharp.
And I think a knee's been bothering him a little bit too, and that way he could test that a little under game conditions instead of just loosening in the bullpen.
This is right.
DeJesus sends a fly ball out into right center. That ball's got a chance to get through, and it does. It'll bounce out at the base of the wall. DeJesus is headed for third, and that speedster will make it. A leadoff triple, and there's your tying run just 90 feet away. How many for him?
That's 9 triples for DeJesus. I'm sorry. That's a mistake. That's 4. I'm reading the wrong column. I wish it was 9 for him.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to look where that put him among the leaders.
Yeah.
That would have put him up with Herr, tied for second. And Herr can thank the Cubs for that spot of his. Every time we looked up the first couple of series, he was on third. So Proley is greeted with a 3-base hit. It's only the 4th Cub hit of the game. The Phillies have 3 hits. So Buckner with a chance here now to make it a new game. He's also got a chance to put the Cubs in front. He has 5 homers against the Phillies this year. Half of his 10 home runs have been against this club. Buckner looking back in disbelief. Umpire said it was a foul tip. So it's strike 1. Buckner is 2 for 12 in this series, although he's driven in 4 runs. Left side of their infield is up about halfway with that runner at third. As we get back to the top of the hour here with Jack Brickhouse and Lou Boudreau, I'm Milo Hamilton with the Cubs and the Phillies from the bat on WGN Television 9 Chicago, where we're wrapping up baseball for another year, but we'll get into the round ball. The Bulls in DePaul, and the Bulls will be on here the 30th of October when they play on the road at Indiana. Bouncer short. Avias in, looks the runner back to third. Played that just right.
Very fine play. You either do or you don't on plays like that. He charged the ball, took it on a short hop. He did not want to wait back. And when he made the play, he held DeJesus at third.
Well, the difference there was when he made up his mind to come on and get it.
The charge, yes, indeed.
Here's Jerry Morales. Had a base hit in the second, scored the Cub run at that time, put us in front 1-0. Now it's 2-1 Phillies. Now with Morales up there, Unser and Trio both moved up into the base path. 1 ball, no strikes. Cardinals leading the Pirates 2-0 in the 6th. Breaking ball outside, 2-0. Mets 1, Montreal 0 in the 4th. Cincy leads Atlanta 1-0 in the 3rd. The Cardinals and Cincy will both reflect tonight on what might have been.
What might have been.
And boy, with their records, it's tough to take. A comebacker. They'll turn it on to DeJesus. Now the catcher will run him back. Gives it to Matusik. So that runner that started off with a leadoff triple don't get him home. As you look at this again, pitcher looked him right back, then threw it in front of him, and then it's just a matter of running him down. There's a little flash. The St. Louis Cardinals have gone in front of Dallas 17-10 early in the 3rd. And late in the 3rd, New England leading Kansas City 24-10. I guess you just couldn't keep that New England offense down forever.
No. They were ready to break loose against somebody.
Morales at first in the fielder's choice. Henderson the batter. Well, you talk about a guy who found it again. You're looking at him in the batter's box.
Yes, indeed. What a month he has had.
Oh, boy. And the Phillies must be wondering why he isn't hitting 400, because he's hitting over 500 against them. There's a high bounce. The catcher will grab it. He'll throw in a hurry. Oh, he just nipped him at the wire.
Very close play. A very fine play by the young catcher, McCormick.
Boy, that's got to be tough to make that play and then find that target.
Yes, indeed. He has to turn. Not only that, he has to wait for the ball to come down. He can't do anything about it.
So no runs, one hit, no errors, one left. A leadoff triple was wasted. So it's still 2-1 Phillies. So Lee Smith pitching into the 6th inning here. Thrown a lot of pitches, but he's out there working. He's thrown a couple of changes here today. Maybe he's working on that a little bit.
Yes, and he's a strong youngster with a good arm.
Oh, he was holding court in that locker today. He said, now, Billy Williams is his greatest audience. He says, now, Bill, I'm going to do a little tree work out there today. I'm going to work on my spitter and my screwball, and I might toss a couple knuckleballs.
He's a dreamer, isn't he?
When he gets an audience, he lets them have it. Here is McBride 0 for 2, sends a fly ball to left field. Should be easy for Steve Henderson. You know, the last 2 fly balls, Gross, the one he hit in the 5th inning to Morales, and this one to Henderson, that must be a difficult sky right now.
It is quite hazy, and Morales, I thought, lost Gross's ball for a moment.
Here's Matusik, walked in the 2nd, bounced out to shortstop in the 4th. Only going to work a couple more outs with Good Kid here this year. I want to say again, pal, I've really enjoyed it with you.
It's been my pleasure. I'll show you that, Milo. Hope we can work more in 82.
Well, I'll second that. 2 balls and no strikes. Phillies have put on a little charge at the end. They've won 7 of their last 11. Scotty Fletcher. And it's 2 away. Second to first takes care of Matusik.
With Smith getting tired, he has better control. It seems like. Ball seems to be sinking now.
Yeah, I thought in the first part of the game, pitches that he threw with his sinker motion were all straight. Davis will be the pinch hitter here. We saw him a couple. In fact, he started the game against us in Chicago. Davis hitting .340 in limited play, 32 hits, 2 homers, 19 runs batted in. This is Dick Davis. Manny Trio would be next. If Davis were to get on and Trio would bat, he'd probably leave the game.
He'd be leaving the ball game early also.
Phillies' next game in this park will be against the Expos Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. 1 ball, 1 strike. Phillies are leading in this game 2-1. Cubs have had their chances to have been in front in this game, especially with that leadoff triple. Sparky Lyle's going to tune it up here today. As Lou talked about earlier, we might see some pitchers for them. Crowley just worked an inning. Two balls, 2 strikes. Oh, what a spot
side
there.
armor.
And that's the way I like to see him come through.
He's tough. And Milo, let me thank you again for a very fine year. One of these years, we're going to broadcast a championship team.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be great.
Well, we'd have it together, too, wouldn't we? All right. We have played through 6, and the Phillies are still leading by a run. Who was the pinch hitter, will stay in the game and play right field. And Sparky Lyle, who got touched up a little by the Cubs last night and was the loser, has come on to work the 7th inning. So those changes made by Dallas Green as we go to the top of the 7th at the vet. There's Davis in right. And you'll take a look at the style of Sparky Lyle. Cubs have out-hit the Phillies 4-3, but the Phillies have the better of it in the run column, 2-1. Jody Davis will be leading it off, be followed by Waller and then Scotty Fletcher. So, did a number on Lyle last night. See if we can do it again and get back in front in this game. In the 2nd inning, Morales led off with a single, and with the run and hit, Henderson responded with a double into the right field corner, and Morales scored. It was 1-0 Cubs. Then in the 3rd, the Phillies got 2 runs and only 1 hit. A wild pitch got the lead run across. Rose had a bounce out to get Unser home. Smith later scored in the wild pitch, so that's the way it's happened in this 2-1 Philly lead. Jody Davis goes after a high pitch, sends a high fly ball to right center, and Dernier makes the play. Vukovich, rather. I'm going to get Dernier in that ball game one way or another here today. I've had him in there twice already. I guess it's just because I'm not used to seeing Vukovich play center, and Dernier has played it 2 or 3 times against us in the last week. Here is Ty Waller. He's struck out and he's bounced out. Nobody on, 1 away. Scotty Fletcher due up next. Fouled off by Waller. Waller is 3 for 11 in this series. No balls, 1 strike. Sparky Lyle, an old warhorse who's been through it. Yankees, great years, Texas Rangers. That's a Scroogey, and it goes outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. They play Waller straight away in center, and the other 2 outfielders fan out toward the foul lines, giving Waller big spaces in each of the power alleys. Slider inside after the screwball, too tight, 2 balls, 1 strike. Cub hits belong to Henderson 2, Morales 1, DeJesus 1. The 2-1 to Tyrone inside, and it's 3-1. High bounce. He tomahawked the ball right back through the middle. He struck out on that pitch in the 2nd inning. This time he wasn't going to let it get by. Bounced it right out over the middle. His first hit today. It's the 5th hit in the game for the Cubs. And Waller gets his 4th hit in the 3-game series. It'll bring up Fletcher. He's looking for his first hit today. And Lee Smith has come out on deck, so he's going to keep on trucking. Ty Waller at first base. Let's see here now. You've got a little guy who's a good handler of the bat. Speed at first. See if Joey tries to put something on here. 1 ball, no strikes. Bobby Bonds falls behind Scotty with 2 balls and no strikes. Bottom of the 3rd at 35th and Shields. White Sox 1, Minnesota nothing. There's a liner into left center field for a base hit with the play in front of him. Waller will just take a token turn at second. So after 1 out, 2 straight hits. Fletcher gets his 4th hit of the series.
They're in the 3rd quarter now. Minnesota 17, the Bears 14.
And with that bit of activity, there's Tim Blackwell with the... Boy, look at that mustachio. Got to look hard to find his upper lip. Cruz will be the pinch hitter. With the activity now, Smith had been out there, but with the 2 straight hits, Smitty's going to be lifted. And Hector Cruz will be the batter, hitting .231, 7 homers, and 15 runs batted in.
Number 27, Hector Cruz.
And Dick Tidrow is throwing in the bullpen. Phillies leading 2-1. Cubs trying to do something about it here in the 7th inning. After Davis started the inning by flying out to right center, Waller singled out over the middle, Fletcher singled to left center. Cruz, ball 1. Sparky Lyle, their 4th pitcher. Out of the stretch comes the 1-0, and he sends a high fly ball to center. Won't go anywhere. Vukovich has to come in, and it's 2 away. So now that puts it up to Bobby Bonds against Sparky Lyle. Bonds today has walked twice, bounced out to 3rd, officially 0 for 1. Well, Bobby, finish the season with a flourish here. Give us one of those days like you had at St. Louis on the end of that last road trip.
Hit one for Andy McKenna.
That's right.
He hit two for Andy down there.
Both bullpens are busy now. Ron Reed in the Philly bullpen. A ball and a strike to Bobby Bonds. DeJesus would be next. High fly ball right field. Going back. Right fielder Davis. And has it on the warning track as he backs into the bullpen wall. So a little static against Lyle, but nobody can get on the pay station. No runs, 2 hits, no errors. The Cubs leave a pair. And the Phillies in their last regular game will have their 7th inning stretch in preparation for the mini-series with Montreal. And they have the lead 2-1. Dick Tidrow has come on to pitch in the 7th inning against Philadelphia. So, Lee Smith in his first big league start after a little over a year of relieving, counting the last couple of months of last year and this year. Worked 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, a wild pitch that he uncorked himself, put them in front 2-1. He struck out 7 in 6 innings and walked 4. Manny Trio, and probably will be batting for the last time. Trio has struck out on the front end of a double play, and in the 4th inning he flied out to left. So Dick Tidrow working here in the 7th inning.
Well, what would you say the odds are against a relief pitcher losing more games than any starter? But that's the story with Tidrow, unfortunately, right now. He's 3-10, and he's the only pitcher on the Cubs staff with 10 losses.
Boy, if you'd have bet on that. Bouncer third came up quickly for Waller. High throw. But backing up over by the railing is Fletcher. That'll be an E5. Throwing error on Waller. Looked like he had just a little bit of trouble. Then when he tried to muscle up, that's what'll happen. Ball will sail on you. And that's what happened to Ty Waller on that play. That's the 2nd Cub error of the game. There was one on Scotty Fletcher in the 2nd inning. So Trio is on, and McCormick will be stepping in here. McCormick has bounced to short, and he struck out swinging. 7th inning, Phillies batting and leading 2-1.
Appreciate some of the wires that have been coming in, Milo. Really do.
Where are you going to put them all?
I'll tell you something. I was just telling the fellas over in the press box, this retirement's turning into fun. I think I'll do it again next year. It's
Why
a lot
not?
of fun, yeah.
Why not? Henry Aaron did.
Sarah Bernhardt.
2nd. Steps on the bag, fires, and it's a double play. Scotty Fletcher handled that one in good shape. Cubs get their 102nd double play of the year. Second baseman Fletcher came right across the bag, and as he did, let her fly to first. And here is Dellenser. He walked as a pinch hitter in the 3rd and scored their first run. In the 5th inning, he was a strikeout victim, and now, with nobody on and 2 away, he's looking at Tidrow. 1 ball and no strikes. Backs him off, 2-0. Nobody on here and 2 away. An opening error erased in the double play ball off the bat of Don McCormick. Now Unser with a 2-0 from Tidrow, and it goes to ball 3. Vukovich is due up next.
Tidrow is another who has said he might want to test the free agent waters at the end of this year.
Fly ball left field. Won't be any problem for Henderson. It's up there a long time, and the side has been retired. So Unser is out, and so are the Phillies. No runs and no hits, 1 error, double play ball, nobody left. We've played through 7. If we're going to get this one and finish third in the second half, the Cub bats have to come alive here. We'll go to the 8th, trailing 2-1. All right, Ron Reed, you're going to take a look at his style. This big guy is in the twilight of his career that he hopes has a couple of years left, become one of the top relievers around. Good and steady and dependable and durable. And the Cubs don't have a loud foul off of Reed all year. So if we're going to do something, going to have to do it now. Football. Aguayo is the shortstop now.
Very high foul ball by Ivan. 1-1.
Third quarter, Minnesota 17, the Bears 14. So the Bears closing the gap a bit.
What's 17-0?
St. Louis leading Dallas 17-10 in the third. Buffalo over Baltimore 17-3 in the third. San Francisco adding to the Redskins' woes, leading them 30-3 in the third quarter.
Again, a high foul fly, right field area, out of play.
New England 30, Kansas City 17. That's in the fourth. Also in the fourth, Packers 20, Giants 7. Second, Dallas Green getting his club ready along with Herm Starrett for the mini playoff at Montreal. Second quarter, Houston leads Cincinnati 7-3.
A little close this time with the fastball by Ron Reed.
And one more in football, Jack. Pittsburgh leads New Orleans 10-3. They're in the second quarter.
There's one to the right of seconds. The mound loaded up. Trio. Not Trio.
That's Avias.
That's Avias.
Aguayo is the shortstop.
He was at shortstop. He's moved over from short now to second.
Aguayo is the shortstop.
And Aguayo is at shortstop. Foul fly out of play to the left by Buckner. Strike one.
Buckner, who last weekend had one of the biggest tears he's had all year, as follows really a hot bat. But this road trip hasn't been good to him. He's down to 312 today, and he's been limited to 2 for 13 in this series.
Oh, and 2. Well, they've got 2 numbers up there for today's attendance, either 25,000 or 21,000.
I'm betting on 25.
They've got 25,476 or 21,912. Take your pick, and they'll let you know in a minute. There's a line shot to the third baseman. Matusik handles it, and that is out. Number 2. That'll ring up Jerry Morales.
21,912. Well, obviously they got a big pass list today. That's how I missed it by 4,000.
1,638,752 for the year, and that's not bad. Not bad at all. Ball 1, strike 1. Phillies 2 runs on 3 hits. The Cubs 1 run on 6. There's a line shot, foul. Third base. Ball 1, strike 2. Short to first. 1, 2, 3. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. This takes us now to the Philadelphia half of number 8 score. The ball game is still Phillies 2, the Cubs 1. Be followed by Aviles, then Greg Gross. As this ball game moves to the Philadelphia half of number 8, and the Phillies try to pad the lead. Score is Philadelphia 2, the Cubs 1. There's a high foul out of play to the left, and that's strike 1. Henderson, Morales, Bonds in left, center, and right. Waller, DeJesus, Fletcher, Buckner. Infield third to first for the Cubs. Tidrow and Davis, the battery. Lee Elia coaching at third. Ruben Amaro at first for Dallas Green's Phillies. Ball 1, strike 2. They've got a little Phillies history note up on the board there. On this date in 1950, the New York Yankees beat the Phillies 1-0 in the World Series opener. They said Jim Constanti got the loss in his first start. He had pitched in relief all that year. It was a surprise starter by the manager, Eddie Sawyer, and how well I remember that game because that was the first World Series game I ever covered. I televised that one with Jim Britt. The Yankees went on to win it 4 straight. So Vukovich is on base, and that'll bring up Aviles. Ball 1. Ball 1. Ball 2, no strikes. There's the bunt. Fair ball. Buckner will throw to Fletcher covering. The sacrifice has now moved Vukovich to second base. And the batter is Greg Gross. Well, one of the big milestones in Phillies history happened here August 10th when Pete Rose singled in the 8th inning off the Cards Littell for his 3,631st hit, and that broke Musial's National League all-time hit record. And of course, Stan the Man was up here to congratulate him on it. They're going to put him on. Gross getting the intentional walk. And Aguayo will bat. Here's Luis Aguayo, hitting .220, batting with a man on second, batting for the first time. Tidrow fires away, low and outside. Ball 1. Well, the home run champion this year again is Mike Schmidt with 31. That's the 5th time in a 9-year career that he's led the league in home runs. Wow. Ground ball bouncing to DeJesus. The play will be at first. It's going to be close, but he got him. Vukovich on third now. Gross on second. And the batter is Matusik. Len Matusik. And he's going to be put on. They'll walk him and pitch to Davis or whoever. Dick Davis is in the next batter's circle. And the crowd doesn't dig it. It'll load the bases for Dick Davis. And Keith Moreland has picked up a bat. He'll bat for Reed if it comes to that.
I think the crowd wanted Mike Schmidt to bat.
Yeah, I suppose so. There's a bouncer foul, third base side, strike one. Well, this year, Valenzuela wins the strikeout championship by 1. At 180, Carlton 179.
It's a left-hander's game.
Fastball misses. 1-1. 2 out. Bases full in the 8th. Phillies 2, Cubs 1. Ground ball, fair ball, taken by Waller. He'll have to go to first, and it's picked out of the dirt by Buckner. A very fine play by Billy Buck. And that retires the side. No runs. 1 hit, no errors, and 3 men left on for the Phillies. Let's see if that last play is something the Phillies live to regret. We're going to the 9th. Score, Phillies 2, Cubs 1. Steve Henderson, Jody Davis, and Ty Waller are due up now for the Cubs, and Tug McGraw is the pitcher. As this game moves to the 9th inning, Milo, get a couple, will you, pal?
All right, we haven't scored since we went in front 1-0 back in the 2nd inning. Then they got 2 in the 3rd. That means that young Mark Davis could get a win here. Be a tough loss for Smith. He pitched well enough, but a wild pitch got the run across that has them in front. Tug McGraw has come on to pitch here. It's the 9th inning of the last game of the 1981 season. And I'm not going to do the last out. You are.
What's that, Milo?
I'm not going to do the last out on your last day. You are.
All right, pal. No wonder Arnie started to stop me when I started to get up out of this chair and stretch. He said, sit down there. Wait a minute. Well, Tug McGraw is going to face Steve Henderson.
And while they get ready for the batter to step in, you've got the things you're going to say a little bit later, but can't let the opportunity to go by. In fact, it's my bounden duty to thank you for 2 marvelous years since I came back, and hope that somewhere along the line, visitor or whatever, that you're going to come by the booth and say hello, will you?
You can be sure of it, Milo. You can be positive of it. because wild horses couldn't keep me away from the Chicago Cubs and a game of baseball. All right, McGraw throws that screwball to Henderson.
Been a phrase of yours many, many times that booths sometimes get small. But I'll have to say, and I'd swear on it with a stack of Bibles, that you and I haven't had one word that could even be insinuated as cross or any other way. I think the friendship has melted right over into the booth for us.
No question about that, my boy. And Milo just touched on a very interesting point. We've maybe discussed this before publicly, that a broadcasting booth is quite a pressure chamber. After all, every mistake you make is magnified by however many people might be watching or listening at the time. And we're aware of all that. We're aware of this responsibility. There's a high hopper taken by the first baseman, and it's McGraw from Munzer on that putout. And old Tug likes to prove that he's still a pretty good athlete. And that's one away. That'll bring up Jody David. And nobody feels great every day. After all, broadcasters are human beings, no matter what some people might say. And as Shylock would say, if you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? And so we have our eccentricities, our weaknesses, our strengths, our pains, and our sense of humor, and all the things that go to make up a thing called living. And consequently, sometimes you don't feel good when you walk in that booth. You're physically or emotionally disturbed by something. And everybody has to be prepared to go 60% of the way every day. Otherwise, sooner or later, there's going to be trouble. And this is the way it's been with me and with Milo, with Arnie, all of us, Lou, and down through the years, the other partners that I've had in the booth. I've been the luckiest man in the world that way, I'll tell you. I haven't had a fellow I've worked with in my life that I haven't, to this day, referred to as a friend, whether we're working together or not. Ball 2, strike 1 to Jody. There's a ground ball deep short. And Aguayo over to first for out number 2. Come on, Ty, let's keep it alive now. If we have a 10th inning today, we're going to try to get Joey Amalfitano. I can think of nobody more appropriate than Joey. Pretty fast ball game up till now. And that's ball 1. There's a high foul out of play. Seaver 14-2 to be the leading pitcher this year. Carlton right behind him at 13-4. Valenzuela 13-7. And, of course, those big mini playoffs, and then the playoffs, and then the World Series to follow. Too low. Ball 2, strike 1.
To be the mini playoffs, the World Series, and Thanksgiving.
Whichever comes first. 2-1. Fly ball, left field, doesn't look good. Greg Gross drifts back and waits. He's on the track, and he has it. And that takes care of that. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. Final score, Phillies 2, Cubs 1. Milo and I will be back in a moment with a recap on the game. Your totals now for the winning Philadelphia Phillies. 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors, 7 men left. We're going to give that win to Ruthven until somebody tells us otherwise. They used everybody but Dallas Green. They had Mark Davis, Ruthven, Crowley, Lyle, Reed, and finally McGraw. Ruthven gets the win. For the Cubs, 1 run, 6 hits, 2 errors, 6 left on. Smith, the loser, 3 and 6. Time of the game, 2:07. Paid attendance today, 21,912. And Milo, I don't know. The Chicago Cubs have a couple of silver linings about a ball game like this one today. I have to think that Mr. Smith kind of gave evidence that he could be a starting pitcher.
I think that's what they wanted to do last year and didn't on the last day. Did it here today. Had a chance to see what he could do. He's certainly strong enough that he could be a starting pitcher, and he has enough good pitches. I think a couple of the other things, Waller looks as though he's going to make somebody push him off a third next year. I think that Tabler, although didn't play in this series for technical reasons because he had a chance to play winter ball and couldn't bat anymore, I think he showed that he can play here. And Durham, of course, had a fine year. Buckner had a quality year. But there are some things to be done, and maybe this game was kind of a tip-off to the kind of a season it was. We lost a one-run game on the last day, which was kind of a pattern this club had. Got a leadoff triple out of DeJesus in an inning and didn't get him home. What I'm trying to say is the consistency wasn't there, and that's what they've got to mold on this club. In fact, Joey talked about it, and if you have him as your guest, you might lead to that. That's one of the things he knows that this club has to start building toward, not winning 1 and losing 2, or winning 2 and then losing 4. You've got to turn that pattern around.
And not 14 runs one day and 1 the next and none the next and 1 the next and 2 the next and 14 the next. You don't play that way either.
Consistency is the bottom word.
Exactly. This is something that I've been harping on for the last several years with the Cubs, and particularly the last 2 or 3 years when it became evident, Milo, that people were criticizing the pitching staff, saying they were really suspect. And I've always had the feeling that that pitching staff could look a lot better if it was backed up with some consistent attack. You might be surprised how improved some of those pitchers will look to you.
Don't go to half any farther than the 9 innings you just looked at. If we get a couple of runs when we had a chance here today, Smith, instead of being the loser, is the winner.
Right. Absolutely. And I think a fellow who pitches a 2-run ball game is entitled to think he ought to win one once in a while.
He's entitled to a mistake or two. The wild pitch beat him here today, but it shouldn't have made the difference.
Right. Well, anyway, hopefully we're going to have Joey Amalfitano up here, right, Arnie? Oh, Joey is on his way, so we're going to have a 10th inning program. Cubs lost the ball game today by a score of 2-1. So this means, of course, they will not finish third. They had a shot at finishing third in the final standings behind the 2 leaders, Montreal and St. Louis. Maybe it isn't all that important that they finish third or second or fourth or fifth or sixth or anything. The answer is either first or, you know, there's only one first, and that's it.
One of the things that I do like about the club, though, while they didn't have a great overall record, at least after the reopening, they showed that they weren't the club that everybody thought they were in the first half either.
Exactly. Now, of course, as Milo has alluded, and we've been talking about for quite some time, this is my final broadcast in the broadcast booth as the play-by-play announcer for the Chicago Cubs and for Channel 9. This is not going to be one of those tearful, sentimental, romantic farewells, because I do plan to stick around the business, and I mean stick around, and do a lot of work for WGN and for Milo and for Lou and for Vinny and for Arnie. If I only carry, and Jack Rosenberg, if I carry their briefcase for them, I'm going to be around that ballpark. And, of course, I will be operating in the business of broadcasting. However, this is, as we said, Jack Brickhouse's final play-by-play report for the Chicago Cubs. Now, of course, I suppose I should reminisce here, Milo, for maybe a minute. And I've been thinking about whether I ought to say something and what I ought to say. I'm going to make it kind of brief. The great game of baseball has survived war, depression, recession, inflation, and all sorts of other adversities, and yet it's become nothing but stronger every year it goes by, all of which is a tribute to this great game and the very marvelous, marvelous hold it has on the sporting public. It's been such a pleasure to be a part of that game. I think there's a line in Bob Hope's theme song that describes not only baseball, but also our business very well, Milo, our broadcasting business. And the line reads, "You may have been a headache, but you never were a bore. Thanks for the memories."
Thank you, Jack, and all the best, and we'll see you. And that's it for this time. Our next televised game will be between the Cubs and the Reds on April 5th, 82 from Riverfront. Our participating advertisers in this Sunday's game were Miller High Life. If you've got the time, they've got the beer. True Value Hardware Stores. True Value, more than just a name. It's their way of doing business. Zenith and your Zenith dealers, featuring System 3 Color TV. The Association of Chicagoland McDonald's Restaurants. You deserve a break today. Union 76 and your neighborhood dealers who invite you to go with the spirit of 76. Toyota Motor Sales USA and the Chicagoland Toyota dealers. The Bell Systems Yellow Pages, they've already found what you're looking for. United Airlines, fly the friendly skies. This telecast was produced by Arnie Harris. Until we greet you on the Bulls and DePaul basketball, this is Milo Hamilton for this time saying so long, everybody. And this has been a WGN Television 9 sports presentation.
Once again.